Hello guys, today we are going to analyze crazy game and also with some story behind it because first of all we all know who is Gukesh Dommaraju, of course current world champion, 18th world champion. But Yağız Kaan Erdoğmuş, super young talent, only 14 years old and he is already 26 and 46 rating and probably after last 2 games he already crossed 2650 rating, which is great score for a 14 years old kid, let's say. And he's doing great, and even a lot of people some calls him future world champion. That's why there was some story behind of this game that being played in board 1 in FIDE Grand Swiss tournament today, in second day of FIDE Grand Swiss tournament. And of course Gukesh Dommaraju came this tournament to prove himself again and again. And since he had white pieces today, and he was gonna try his best to win this game and not to just throw away his chance, because in top level games, like top level players are most of the times, if they have white pieces they are trying to win, if they have black pieces they are trying to secure draw. And because it's really hard to beat in that level with black pieces, and when you achieve that draw, and it's already being decent result for them. And of course, as a white pieces, and Gukesh Dommaraju with that repetition as well, and he just wanted to beat this game and continue this tournament 2 out of 2. But Yağız Kaan Erdoğmuş also was ready this game, and also I can imagine how excited he was. And because 14 years old guys, and you know that whole world watching you, and it wasn't only chess, it should have been a lot of pressure and other thoughts was walking around on his mind during the game, and it shouldn't be easy for such years old kid. Anyway, and I think Gukesh Dommaraju also was pretty aware of that. He's excited, and that's why he also prepared a bit unusual line against him. And because young talents are, especially the kids, they easily memorizing the lines, and they know a lot of theories. Of course not as much as the of course old people, but still they can memorize some certain lines, and especially in that level. So that's why I assume Gukesh Dommaraju wanted to play something unusual to surprise him and to pull him out of the usual theoric lines. And that's why, and I think Gukesh Dommaraju start with d4. After d4, of course, most common response is d5, and normally we see here c4, which is pretty most common thing here. It goes to be queen's gambit, and if you can take it or you can just decline it, and do whatever you want. There are a lot of lines and a lot of maybe over thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s games being played in that line. And but Gukesh Dommaraju played c3, which is interesting. And after that, even though here already in second move, we can see on the time Yağız Kaan Erdoğmuş already spent 4 minutes around, but still he continued with line knight f6. And after knight f6, queen comes to g5 to attack on this knight, and then c6 also going to be played. And but here you see it's already just third move, and Yağız Kaan Erdoğmuş already spent around 15 minutes and more than 12 minutes, let's say. And because, as I said, it is pretty unusual. But here, instead of e3 it says most usual and most accurate move here for white pieces. But Probably this was a preparation as well, or I don't know, maybe it wasn't preparation already, because maybe Gukesh wasn't expect this c6 as well. Maybe he didn't prepare against this c6, and also we can see here Gukesh finally starts thinking, and it also is kind of sign of that he is already out of his preparation. And after queen c2 is not actually good, because black pieces has already have this knight e4 and attacking on this bishop, which means he needs to go back with his bishop, and that's what happens. And meanwhile black pieces keep developing his pieces, and bishop comes to f5. And I mean, we are already on 6th moves, and black pieces developed his 2 light pieces, but white pieces has only bishop over the board, and this queen doesn't have a lot of perspective yet. And then instead of, for example, going for f3 to bother it, for example, if it will go knight d6, and e4 could have been played and takes, and then first we take this knight, and of course e takes d6, and then we just coming knight d2 to attack on this pawn, or etc. So it could have been happened, but instead of that, Gukesh plays queen b3. Queen b3 is also asking here, but here actually there are crazy lines for black pieces. For example, since he attacks here is the best move is knight d7, for example. After knight d7, even though these pawns are hanging here, but he cannot actually take it. He can't actually take it, because after that e5 can be played. After taking this, if you take it with the bishop, you just take it back like this way, and it's totally okay, because afterwards, like when you take it, this rook will come here and attack on this pawn, and it will be really crazy position for black pieces. That's why you can't take it with bishop directly. When you take it back with a pawn, then you can just come here to push this queen, and you gave away this pawn as well. As you can see, like black piece already gave 2 pawns away, but after taking this, like here, sorry, that's not the best move. Best move is rook bishop c5, yeah. And look at this, like if you want, even we can see the board from black side. Like this is crazy. You are 2 pawns down, but look at these black pieces and their organization and how they cover each other. They attack here, and also this rook will come here in the future. This is already pretty okay position for black pieces. But instead of going for these lines, and Yağız Kaan Erdoğmuş, of course, it is pretty understandable because of the reasons that I said earlier in this video, and yeah, then he just plays, instead of going there, and he just plays queen b6 and wants to keep the board a bit calm, not yet. And then f3 has been played, attacking this knight goes back, and then another knight develops to d2 square, and black piece also develops their knight, and then white piece already wants to open some area and attack with g4, because why not, and just gaining some space over on king's side, and also coming with attack with tempo to attack on this bishop. So this bishop needs to go somewhere. Of course, this is the most natural move, and after that h4 has been played, wants to trap this bishop, but of course in this level these small tactics are not gonna work. And after h6, Yağız Kaan Erdoğmuş, young talent, creates his space here for this bishop in case h5 will be played. And after that, bishop comes to g2. Bishop g2 also is kind of suspicious move. Instead of that, here with Stockfish says just play h5, or just keep it, or just trade these queens and etc. That's what Stock Engine says. But instead of that, white pieces wants to develop their bishop, and then e6 being played, and then Gukesh plays h5 to ask for this bishop. Then this bishop goes back, and then he pushes e4. After e4, white pieces yeah, obviously wants to just explode this line, and also in the future, and after, yeah, just getting trying to get overcrowd on king side. And since black pieces didn't castle yet on so why not to just try to open this area already, since you have this much space. And then Yağız Kaan Erdoğmuş says, okay, if you're going to attack on king side, then I am going to attack on queen side. Like if you're going to play on king side, I'm gonna play on queen side. And then after that, of course, a4 also wants to be played in the future. That's why Gukesh just says, you know what, let's trade these queens and let's see what's going to happen. And after takes and queen takes back to queen, and a4 of course are on the board to avoid a4 from black side. And then knight comes to c4, takes, another knight comes here, and this knight is actually really crazy and really nice knight. And this is really nice knight to have here on this area with these perspectives. And after that, b3 has been played to attack on this knight. This knight goes back, and then again e5 attacking on this knight. This knight goes back until c6, and then bishop comes back to f1, because it's understandable. This bishop looks here like, yeah, to the wall, nowhere, just has no any perspective. So this figures, these pieces needs to be activated and involved to the game. And it's same thing also for black pieces as well. And after that, instead of going for short castling or etc., black pieces decides to activate their king and protect it in this center, because this center is actually looks okay, and with these pawns. And bishop comes back to e3, king goes to c7, because actually this is meaning first this bishop can come here to attack here, but for that you have to play king c7 first, because if you come it here directly, for example, let's say, yeah, like rook h2 to attack on this bishop, you cannot take it, because when you take here, it comes here, and if you go somewhere here, then he comes here with check, and you don't want to let this rook to come on 7th rank. No, you don't want it. That's why first black piece plays king c7 to protect this pawn in the future. Then to avoid that line, I mean, so rook cannot take this b7 in the future. Now he wants to play bishop c2, but for to avoid it, of course, white plays king d2, and knight comes to b6, and knight because this knight just doing nothing there, and this knight also needs to find some space for himself over the board. And after that, white pushes f4, and here we see actually white pieces has a bit advantage here. This is just because of this space. I mean, this area white gained early. And then knight goes back, there is the idea behind it, and then takes, the bishops have been traded, and then black pieces plays b5. And then black piece plays b5. And after b5 is not that good, because after b5 there is exactly f5. That's what Gukesh plays. And after that also knight e2 even could have been played, and to avoid these ideas from here. But the idea behind b5, which is pretty understandable, Yağız just says, okay, I don't have game on this side, I don't have game on king side, I have to create something on this side. That's why not to just to try to exploit these pawn chains over here. And after f5 takes, rook takes, and then c5 has been played, and then knight comes to e2, and then again c4, and then Gukesh has to take it with pawn and takes, and then knight comes here asking for this rook and for this pawn. And of course, after putting our knight on c4 square, we are pretty happy. Look at this knight, it's super beautiful in the center, but it is still Indian Stockfish finds white pieces pretty better in this position, because these things are here is more dangerous than black pieces has somewhere. Yeah, simply these things are stronger than this knight or other things behind of it for black pieces. And black king also is not that safe, since this area, these lines are already open, and maybe in the future this rook also will come here, maybe he will double them and blah blah. So some open lines. And after that, fe6 and fe6 back, and then knight comes to f4 to attack on this line. And after here, for example, you cannot take it this way, because after that rook b1 immediately, and then rook b1 might come to b7, and we mentioned that earlier we don't want something like that, but somehow we have to protect this pawn. That's why rook a e8 is the only move to protect it proper way, let's say. And after that, bishop goes back. This bishop wants to come from here somewhere, something to do. And or also opening, this knight was attacking on that bishop, so we don't want to give that bishop yet. And then king also starts to walk to the center. And by the way, I also want to mention the player's time. Yağız Kaan Erdoğmuş were in really big time trouble here. Like, he had only 1.5 minutes, and it went, and it's already, but it's only 33 moves being played yet on the game, so he still needs to make at least 7 moves to get increment. And after rook comes to f2, which is understandable, this is a open line, and after pushing this knight away, it will be pretty nice filed for this rook. And then rook comes, and another rook comes to another rook comes to g8, because we also don't want like something like this to attack on this rook and blah blah. So, and also this actually rook g8 aiming g5 in the future. And then king goes back. This was really interesting move, because here actually Gukesh should have played knight g6. This was winning, and but instead of that, for some reason I didn't understand, to be honest, what was the idea behind this king. And he just goes back here. And actually, when king goes here, you're also giving some responsibility to this bishop just to stick in this line, at least for now, because if this bishop will go somewhere, then there is fork here, so you can't just unnecessarily stuff, I would have say. I didn't understand. I also didn't hear any idea could have been behind of this king c2, and from other commentators. And then here Yağız plays this move. He had only 4 seconds on the clock, and then he played this only great move. And because this bishop didn't have any space over the board to come and to be placed, but finally he finds this moment to put his bishop in correct, in right square, in right on the time. And then he finally develops this bishop, and in the future this bishop will come here. And then knight takes this, and then as I said, he had some time trouble. He couldn't actually calculate this lines pretty well probably. And then he plays g6, and after that Gukesh plays g5, because after this you cannot actually take it, because you take, then h6 are going to walk. And Stockfish says, engine says, white actually are able to invest on this pawn and protect it and walk through and just win some advantage from that pawn. And also this double pawns in the future will just fall down, and etc. So, but they didn't go for that. None of them has been taken. First, black piece says, okay, you played g5, but I'm going to ask for this knight first. And this knight goes back to f4, which is great place, great move. And then rook comes here to attack on, and also it's kinda pinned. This knight is pinned here. And then rook goes to g2, and now actually this bishop doing pretty well job. And here this rook attacks on this knight, and this knight is protecting by the bishop. And this rook also comes here in the future after taking he can just jump in over here, and then bishop takes g5, and to avoid it, and then knight takes d5. After knight takes, king comes to c6 to attack on this knight, and here only winning move was knight f6, and Gukesh should have found this line, this variation, but he thinks, and when king c6 happened, he had more than 3 minutes, but here he thought for a long time, and he played this move when he had only 8 seconds on the clock, and he takes this bishop, but this is not actually good, this is blunder, and here he misses his winning chance. And then king takes d5. After king takes d5, this bishop comes to f6 because he wants to he doesn't want let this rook will come to f2, but Yağız Kaan Erdoğmuş has great idea here, and after taking this, rook comes there, and then he just takes this bishop with brilliant move. This is actually, he gives away this rook, but actually this is one of the easiest ways to secure the draw in this game, because after taking this, rook comes here, this is the king b1 is the only move white pieces can play, because wherever else you go, this is not just good. You have to go here to protect this rook, and after that rook e1 you have to go back again, rook e2 again you have to go here, because otherwise you're gonna lose this rook and it will be winning for black pieces. So, and after that, after repetition, they set the game draw, and this was really great achievement for Yağız Kaan Erdoğmuş, and we really hope all the best for him. Such a young talent, only 14 years old, and already managed to draw against world champion, which means it will earn him a lot of self-confidence for the rest of the tournament, and that means he can beat anybody, or he can at least secure the draw against anybody in that tournament, because there is nobody higher than Gukesh in that tournament. There are other players are kind of similar, same level, but nothing really higher than Gukesh. Of course, it will be a lot of challenges, a lot of difficult positions, a lot of difficult games, and sometimes in some positions some opponents won't make those mistakes that Gukesh has done, and of course sometimes they will try to secure their winning positions and more proper way, but still this psychological statement is really important, especially for the such young talents, and that's not empty word that they were mentioning, that they were announcing this game. Future world champion are going to play against current world champion, and yes, I hope in the future we will see this couple more playing each other, and we will analyze those games and watch them and just have pleasure out of it. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe my channel to be aware of upcoming games and upcoming games in this tournament and also in another tournaments, and I will keep you guys aware of those stuff. Thank you for watching. See you next time.